Whether you are a new UTPR player or a veteran, you probably experienced the frustrating mechanic of rage before. In case you aren't aware of what rage is and how it functions, let me briefly explain. The simple premise is that it's meant to hinder passive play. The game checks on multiple instances that determine the player's aggression level. If the game deems that you are playing too passively, via knocking back your enemy but not closing up the distance, playing an annoying heal move, running away, dashing away, or circling around your enemy, the game gives you a debuff on your stats while the aggressive player gains a buff. When debuffed, you receive less damage, a lower stamina rate, and delayed stamina regeneration. Throughout this video, for clarity's sake, I will be calling these rage warnings as checks, because once the game checks that you're doing something it doesn't like, it'll give you the warning. Rage buffs or debuffs will only decay once you take damage or deal damage to your opponent. On paper, it sounds like a good mechanic meant to punish those who are passive and benefit those who are aggressive. But is this true? The rage mechanic has been out for a year now, and I'm going to be talking about each and every check that the game does, as well as going over the nuances that they may have. The stalling check starts when you knock back an enemy, or if you get knocked back by an enemy. If you knock your enemy back, choosing not to close the distance will fill the rage meter. Once the meter is full, you will receive the debuffs. The debuffs worsen as you stay put. The stalling check is one of the most discussed checks for rage due to it being a really common occurrence. While it's good at doing its job the intended way, there are some circumstances that make this check really awful to deal with. An example is when you are low on stamina and manage to knock your enemy away from you. If you choose to stay back to try and regain your stamina, you'll be punished for it and have your stamina regeneration hindered. Even worse, if you try to approach your enemy, your opponent can take advantage of the lack of stamina you have already. On some maps, your enemy can abuse the map geometry to get free rage. In case of a fight on base plate forest, imagine a matchup like Frisk vs Asgore. If you knock the Asgore back, they can just climb up the mountain and spam attacks while you're sitting down there vulnerable. It's hard to approach someone who has the high ground in this way. Normally some characters have the ability to grab or teleport to attack, such as second phase Frisk held 5, GTC Hate 2, second phase Jevil held 1 and 4, which solves the issue, but not everyone can perform these moves as anyone else. My idea for fixing the first problem is by implementing a check to see how low your stamina is. If you are under the specific threshold, the rage meter just stops until you regenerate. I was thinking that the threshold should be around 10 stamina. For the second problem, well, it's more challenging to fix that. A check can be added, one that looks to see if the enemy is above or level on where you're standing. If the enemy is higher than you, then start the rage meter. If the enemy is level with you, then don't start the rage meter. And proceed with the other checks. Originally I thought it would be a good idea for the check to also apply if the enemy is below you, but due to most map geometry like waterfalls being a really steep map, it becomes flawed pretty quickly. Like, imagine getting knocked back down this mountain and getting debuffed for it. Yeah, let's just focus on the enemies that are above you for now. There are 3 checks in this segment that I'll be discussing. The running away check, the running around check, and the dashing away check. UTPR movement is actually quite intricate and it deserves its own video someday, but I want to focus on the rage aspect of movement for now. If you're running away from your enemy by holding S, it triggers the running away check. If you're within a certain radius of your enemy and start circling them, it'll trigger the running around check. And lastly, if you dash around your enemy while they're trying to approach you, it'll trigger the dashing away check. It's important to note that these separate checks have their own unique meters that never decay. If you do a specific thing that the game doesn't like, it'll add to that specific meter. There are 3 checks related to your movement as I talked about. These 3 meters can be filled at varying points depending on how you play. Honestly, there isn't anything inherently wrong with these checks. I thought about it for some time and could only think of 2 downsides. The dashing away check can be slightly frustrating at times due to block dashing being a heavy meta currently, and the fact that the rage meter never depletes until they are full, which can cause moments that make you think, how the hell did I just get debuffed? Have you ever healed and gotten debuffed for it? The healing check functions by determining if you're performing an annoying heal. Depending on how you heal, you receive debuffs. For example, if you heal while missing 1 HP, you get the least severe debuff. If you heal while you're a bit weaker, the debuff is larger. If you're really low on HP, a heal will cause the maximum amount of rage. There aren't really any nuances to this check, it just makes the annoying heals a little more manageable. The dodging check doesn't have a rage meter. This one's going to be a little difficult to explain, but I'll try my best. It'd be unfair for the rage meter to continue filling while the enemy is actively attacking or moving around you. This check addresses the issue by pausing the meter whenever the enemy uses a move or constantly moving. When the move is finished, or if they stop actively running, it will unpause the meter. This is especially noticeable with Undyne. For example, when I use 4 in her second phase, it significantly delays the meter. Once the move is over, the meter resumes. Since the game only checks if you're in a move state to pause the meter, you can hold 1 as Undyne and the meter remains paused until you throw the spear. This also applies to Asgore with his Trident 1 move by holding it. It even works with counters as they are technically moves. If you use a character with a long end lag on their counter, it will also delay the meter. Do I recommend doing this though? Well, you might leave yourself open to being punished, so unless you have an actual strategy in mind, there isn't much use for it. Hey, it's me from the future with the power of editing. There's some little details about rage that I failed to mention in some segments, so I'm going to quickly talk about them. Rage meters are paused when either user is in iframes. Phase transitions or moves that give iframes are good examples. The stalling rage meter goes up significantly quicker if you are standing still or walking back, compared to running and walking forward, which makes it go up slower. I hope I explained these checks as clearly as possible. If you're still confused about rage, have questions, or if you think I missed something, feel free to comment below and I'll do my best to answer. If I missed something in this video, I will correct myself in the description. Overall, rage has been a controversial mechanic within the UTPR community, sparking ongoing debates about whether it should have been added or not. Now, after all this time, my definitive answer regarding the overall usefulness and drawbacks of rage is rework the stalling check. Wait, hold on. Before I end off this video, I want to say thanks for supporting my channel during my absence. Yes, I've been more than aware of my channel's inactivity and I have made a community post addressing it. If you made it this far, please do subscribe to my channel if you found this video fun to watch. It took me a long time to create it. Not only that, but I have high ambitions to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so while you're at it, you can join my Discord server for UTPR related events and giveaways in the future.